Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Being that Warzone is a live service game, obviously it is always getting updates, but for the past while, I would say, I was going to say for the past little bit, but it's been quite some time. For the past while, we've been looking and waiting for one specific update that would seriously change gameplay for, I would say, the majority of players, and that is this whole next gen update, which at this point has partially been implemented into Warzone. We see various aspects of it in the game already, with the ability to have 120 hertz on next gen consoles. So on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, if you have a compatible monitor, you can turn that on and you can get 120 FPS in game, which is a nice way to sort of level out the playing field versus PC, which obviously there you can have upwards of 240 hertz. There's some 360 hertz monitors out there now. Not like you're getting 360 FPS in Warzone, but the ability to have those higher frame rates and higher refresh rates is out there. The big thing though that console specifically is missing is that FOV slider, and today we're going to break down just how drastic of a difference it is when you look at console versus PC and how big of a difference FOV can make, because in my opinion, it's the biggest draw to be playing on PC right now. So as we go over it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated. Let's aim for 3,000 likes on this one. And of course, if you are new to the channel or if you haven't already subscribed, I am always covering everything going on in COD. News, updates, tips, loadouts. It is all right here. So feel free to subscribe. That way you can always stay up to date. All right, so I figured the easiest way to sort of break this down and show just how advantageous higher FOV is to jump into some Modern Warfare multiplayer here, some custom games, so we can sort of look at various angles. We're on Scrapyard here, which is obviously a part of the Warzone map, and we're on the same engine as Warzone's on with Modern Warfare as well. So it's a one-to-one correlation basically. But if we go into my settings here, as we see, I'm playing on 120 FOV. I also play with affected ADS, and we'll get into affected versus independent here in just a moment. But 120 FOV is massively advantageous, right? When you look at what I can see in game, I have really good visibility. I can see all the way over to this wall, and I can see just to the start of this little down plane over here. So I'm looking at a very wide angle field of view here. Anyone that's on the left side of the screen, that's over on the right side of the screen, I'm going to be able to see pretty easily. Now, looking across, it's a bit more difficult because obviously I don't have the same zoom, but if somebody's running across here at the end, you're still gonna be able to notice that movement and pick up on that too. But just looking at like a straight on angle, obviously left to right, there's a lot more screen space, it seems like. Now, if we go ahead and go into the settings and we go down to 80 FOV, which is what console plays on, I know my face cam sort of blocks this thing on the right here, but you can see like what is actually in screen on these different FOVs. 60 is obviously very zoomed in, 80 is a little bit more out, 100 is even more out than that, then you have max at 120. But if we go in game and look at 80 now, I'm not gonna lie, this looks disgusting after what I was just on, but we stand in the same place and we can see not even to the edge of that dumpster barely, and not even past the inner tube on Broken L here. So this is what console sees constantly, and dude, playing on this right now actually messes with my vision so much. This makes me feel so weird. This is what console sees though, and again, we'll go back all the way up to 120. What a difference that is. And man, it does it look so much better. So strictly off of visibility alone, you are getting a night and day difference. You are on tunnel vision to the extreme on console FOV, on 80 FOV, versus PC, where you can have it at 120 like I have. You can have it on 100. We can go ahead and look and see what that does for us too. Let's drop it down to 100 here, and you can see it's still, relatively zoomed in, but we can see towards the edge of this. We can see a little bit past the tubing here. So you're getting further and further out, and visibility across your, your frame of view here is a lot better than before. Something else you get is not having to work as hard to get visual information. I guess it sort of falls in the same line, but let's say we're running up here and there's a player that's camping up in these corners. People love to camp in these little buildings in Warzone as well. So if we were to run in here and I start to go up the stairs, I don't have to look that far to my left to be able to see that corner, while also keeping my eyes on this room. If that door's open, like I can see left to right here, I can see in this room, I can see all the way over into that corner. Now, if we do that same thing and we dumb it down to 80 FOV, it's going to be a world's difference when it comes to the information we can actually see out of this. Again, this feels so bad staring at this, but if we come up here, I can hardly see into this room, and if I want to see in this room, I can barely even see to the corner of this desk. So anyone over here, they could be on my screen and I would never know because my FOV is so limited. And if I wanted to look over here, I have no view on what's going on in this room. So you are actually severely constricted when it comes to playing on console and getting information. So say there's a PC player that's running in this building and they're going to try and take out the guy that's camping in this corner up here. They're going to have a significant better chance of getting that kill and securing that because they have that visual information ready and available to them on a moment's notice, whereas console just does not have that option whatsoever. So the visual clarity, the ability to get more information off the same point of view, is drastically different from console to PC. If console were to get the option to up that FOV to 100, even to 110 to 120 ideally, that evens out a massive advantage. You know, the playing field is a lot more even if that update and when that update comes to the game. But obviously, visuals aren't everything. You have to have gun skill involved in it. And a big part of FOV advantage is actually the ability to change between affected and independent FOV. Basically, the main difference here is that with affected, when you go ahead and you ADS, your screen really isn't zooming in all that much, right? Like I get a slight amount of zoom there, but it's nothing too crazy because my FOV actually affects the ADS. That's why it's affected. So it's not zooming in as much. Now, if we go ahead and go back in and we change this to independent, when I go ahead and zoom in, you'll notice I'm basically back on console FOV when I zoom in, and you lose a lot of that surrounding area of visuals, but you also get a better zoom, so it's easier to see targets at a distance. But that's not the only thing. Again, visuals, yes, they change between each, but so does the way that the guns actually feel. Now, at the end of the day, the guns are going to behave the same whether you're on independent or affected, right? The recoil is not going to change physically, but visually, it will by a pretty significant amount. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna shoot at this truck, and keep in mind, what I'm about to shoot here is me controlling the Modern Warfare MP5. Obviously, we're on independent right now. When I go ahead and I shoot this, you can see my reticle, my iron sight there is bouncing around a lot. It's got a lot of jitter to it, right? Like it's not super consistently accurate. I go ahead, switch to affected, I do the same thing. You can see it does not feel like it's moving around as much. Now, it is still moving around to a certain extent because obviously the patterns are going to remain the same here. And of course, I'm using the collapsible stock on this, so the recoil is going to be even worse than normal. But with affected, the visual recoil is a lot more severe. You're going to notice bouncing more. And I can actually give an even better example here. The AMAX is one that is drastically different between affected and independent. Again, I'm going to be controlling this, so you're going to notice how I'm controlling the AMAX's recoil here. But the bounce, really not all that bad. It's relatively straightforward and pretty easy to control, right? Let's go back into our options here. Let's change back to independent. Let's try and do the same thing. And you guys see how much more drastic that visual bounce is. Night and day difference. Now, of course, we're still on 120 FOV. Let's go ahead. Let's dumb it down to 80 and see what the difference is like here, because it's going to be even worse. Back on 80, feel like I can't hardly see anything. I zoom in. Me trying to control this thing, it bounces. Like I can control the recoil all I want, but at the end of the day, I can't get over how weird this feels. At the end of the day, you're not going to be able to keep it aligned and keep it straight, especially if you're trying to fight people at 100 meters away, 150 meters away. That visual bounce you're getting with the independent FOV is going to be such a disadvantage. So the sheer fact that console does not have an FOV slider and doesn't have the ability to change their ADS FOV with affected and independent means that PC players not only are able to see more angles off the same position and off the same screen, they're able to see a wider range of what's going on in the map and what's going on in front of them. They're able to not have to move their screen around as much to get the same amount of information basically, and their gunfights are made easier on PC because they have the option to change to affected FOV and in turn reduce the visual recoil. So those are three significant disadvantages that console currently faces. We know that Raven has a dedicated tech team working on this next gen update. We don't have an ETA for it, but when this happens, it's going to be one of the biggest gameplay changes that we've ever seen, and one of the biggest balances we've ever seen in Warzone history, because it's going to allow console players, which I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure console players make up the vast majority of Warzone's player base, because frankly, it's easier to get a hold of, you know, a $300, $400, $500 console versus a couple $1,000 gaming PC that can actually run the game smoothly, right? So a lot of the player base is on console, and a lot of that player base is currently, as we just saw, at a huge disadvantage. So that's why this next gen update is so important, and how it's going to drastically change gameplay when it comes to the game. Hopefully this helped you guys out and sort of helped you understand what the difference is on console versus PC, and why this is such a hot debate and hot topic right now, why it's such, a desired update for Warzone in general. But that's gonna wrap things up for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And as always, if you're new to the channel, or if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always stay up to date with everything going on in Call of Duty. Once again, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.